Patagonia is named like that because of Magellan. When he was traveling here to find the famous strait, he touched several times, not so many times, just 2 or 3 times, the Atlantic coast of the region. And on those times, he met for the first time with the Tehuelche Indians. We have in the region 2 main cultures, the Tehuelches that were by the Atlantic coast and the Mapuches that they live mainly on the over the Andes and over the Pacific, or on the Pacific coast of the region. The thing is that these men, the Tehuelches, the first native that Magellan met, were very tall guys, over than 6 feet tall. And you know that the Spanish, we are shorter on how high we are. So what happened is that when he saw these very tall people, he remembered the story of the Patagon monster. That was similar to the Bigfoot. Pata in Spanish is for the it's a word that we use for the leg of the animals. So the Patagon means basically this Bigfoot that was actually a story of a book that he read when he was young that was talking about this monster figure of Patagon. He named it that way Patagon, these Indians, the Tehuelches. And so the land of the Patagons were the Patagonia.
And can you talk about the further development of like how Bariloche came to existence and
okay.
and Juan and the nuclear?
Okay, yeah, the origins of the population of Patagonia, because of the strong resistance of these Indians, these natives, the Tehuelches and the Mapuches, they resisted the conquest or the developments of the conquest of the Inca Empire coming from Peru. They were stopping them, let's say 1,000 miles north from here. Further, the Spanish colonies arrived and pushed them a little south, and it was Argentina and Chile, the 2 countries that finished the conquest in this southernmost region of the world. Argentina did it in a much more violent way. We basically sent an army that killed most of the Indians, as well Chile absorbed most of this population. As this conquest was a little bit different from what it was the conquest with the American conquest of the Wild West, we only sent the army. We didn't send the settlers or the colons together with the army. So the first villages of Patagonia were settled next to the forts that this army left behind the conquest. Bariloche, so then it was first populated by immigrants that were coming from Central Europe, German, Poland, Austria, and and so they were dedicating their activity and their production they were dedicating the activity, the economical activity, on the production of goods, cattle, livestock, and also some wheat that was transported to Europe through Chile. It was closer and more comfortable to go to Europe through Chile than do it through Buenos Aires, that it's 1,000 miles from Bariloche, and there was no infrastructure at the beginning of the 20th century. So little by little, this town grew, but not much, until the decade of the 30s. On those times, we have a world situation where Europe was in the middle of the wars, and the landlords of Argentina, basically, to give a short version, they were unable to travel to have their fancy holidays in Europe, in the Alps. So what they did was to look for a similar landscape in Patagonia, and they transformed this agricultural Patagonian town into an alpine town, using the base of the European population to set the basis of the European culture that we have here. Then they invested a lot of money to create the ski resort. They brought the train so these people could come in a more comfortable way to do this 1,000 miles of distance from Buenos Aires, and many other things like luxurious hotel and other things that were the first touristic change of this town. That happened in the decade of the 30s, and in the decade of the 40s is when the situation of the country changed. These landlords stopped controlling the government, and it's when Juan Domingo Perón comes to be the president of Argentina. He then transformed the town in many ways. He opens the Union Workers Hotel for the lowest classes, for the workers, campings for people to come in cheaper ways. And in the controversial part of his history, he hides people in this area that were running away from the Second World War. The most controversial part of them were the Nazis, that you will learn much more about them. But in some of the people that he brought them for strategical reasons. There was a scientist, an Austrian scientist, that worked here to try to develop the nuclear energy. The detractors of Perón, they are talking about that the Perón wanted to have the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. That it's not rare to think about that. Everybody wanted to have the atomic bomb at the last part of the Second World War. But in the decade, on those days, Perón was also trying to transform the economy of Argentina. We are an agricultural country. We produce goods, and that's even today, it's one of the bases of our economy. So he wanted to industrialize the country. And the nuclear energy was going to be that energy, that power to supply these new factories that he was creating. This project worked in an island very secretly for many years, but it was cancelled because obviously there were detractors against Perón. It was very controversial, this figure of Ronald Richter, this Austrian scientist that was not having so many results. So the National Commissions of Atomic Energy shut it down, all these projects. But there was one of the scientists that was thinking that all the improvement that Ronald Richter did was going to be useful for education, maybe. And that's when the Atomic Center of Bariloche and the Balseiro Institute, that is these institutions, are born. Now today, it's one of the most important institutions in Latin America for having an education on nuclear engineering, mechanical engineering, and civil engineering in general. That makes of Bariloche not only a touristic town. We have 95% of our economy directed to tourism, but another 5% of our economy it's technological research and education. The technological research in that Atomic Center of Bariloche has a relationship with nuclear medicine, and the people that study over there, they are going to be working in other facilities that that they are going to be in Bariloche as well, and probably you can get to see it on your tour, that they are going to be in charge of making the nuclear reactor that Argentina is starting to develop, and also the first completely made in Argentinian satellite. That it's maybe for other countries in the world it's not so important, but for technology in South America and for Argentinian technology, it's a very remarkable thing.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. This way, this way. Hasta luego, nos vemos. Estamos viendo, ¿eh?
What was the name of that mountain we just came up off of?
Campanario. Campanario means bell tower. The shape of this mountain from far, the people that first came over here, they thought that it looked like a bell, even when you have to use your imagination for that. The walks and the hikes. Officially, this is not a national park, even when we have the same ecology of the national park here. This is a state park. The name of this state park is Yao Yao, just like the hotel we passed by. Yao Yao, that you will read it in your accent, Lao Lao.
Right.
And in Chile, the accent of Chile is going to be Yao Yao.
Yeah, yeah.
Yao Yao. Yeah, you know that in the Spanish from Argentina, the double L sounds like a shh. So we don't say. Do you speak a little bit of Spanish?
No.
No, some words a little bit. So let's say the color, yellow color, it's amarillo in Mexico, in Chile, everywhere else, but in Argentina, where it's amarillo. We don't eat pollo, chicken. We eat pollo, and many things like that. So you're gonna have to get used to that accent. So in the end, this is the state park called Yao Yao. Yeah, we're gonna be. We drove from this area This is where the hotel was located. We are right here. Usted está aquí. But it's a very blurry area because everybody says, this is what we did. This is what we're going to walk for the first minutes. This is going to be 30 minutes or so, 600-700 yards. And then we're going to meet the driver again here, drive for 10-15 minutes and do the hike over here.
This is called not a beech tree. It was originally named beech. They thought it was from a similar family. Then they tested it later and found out it was not. But this is most of the trees in this Patagonian forest.
sometimes when the condor is flying, they will turn, and that's when you see it from below, it's going to be completely black. The turkey vulture will have some spots, white spots on the lower part. If the condor turns on their fly, you will see the back. And also, it's going to be like a tiny white spot next to the head because it has kind of a color of white feathers. Yeah. That will be maybe the only way I have for watching the condors from distance. Yes, as well. Yeah.
You want us to get out of the way?
No, you.
Friends, so this is
You are the-
about fish. We were talking about the animals that were introduced in the area. For different reasons, the animals of Patagonia were not attractive. So that's why they were introducing the deers, the wild boars, and trouts. Yeah. I remember always the diary of a British hunter that he speaks that in a chapter of his book, he speaks that the most attractive animal to hunt in Patagonia was a wild cow. A wild cow that was lost in the middle of the mountain for years. Apparently they turned into very territorial and aggressive animals. So that was the best trophy he could get in Patagonia. The deer we show you, he's not attractive. He's saving a curious animal that he will show up in the campsite of the hunters. The puma, it's a frightening creature, not too attractive to hunt like a lion. So that's why they were introducing the wild boar, the red deer. And in the case of the fishing activity, as we have 6 species of small fish and not too tasty, the trout. Rainbow trout and brown trout are going to be the most successful ones. So if you go to a restaurant in Bariloche, probably it's going to be rainbow trout on your dish. Yeah.
Those were introduced.
Those are introduced. Yes, yes. The brown trout, I think it was brought from Germany. So we also call it the German trout. And the rainbow trout, I don't know honestly. But the 6 species, we have one catfish, endemic species, not too tasty for what I know. I never tasted. It's protected anyway. But this little lagoon is not touching, not connected with the other lakes. So ecologically speaking, it's completely clean of introduced species. Then the rocky mountain we have in the distance is with the mountain that we are going to be making the hike further. In 5 more minutes we will take the bus, 15 minutes drive, and we will go for the hike. We're not going to reach the top, but we're going to walk on the base, and to reach that kind of a ledge that you see of forest on the right side, that's going to be one of our highest points on the walks. So if you're ready, we can go to the bus. Well, basically this area, this hotel called Alumnewen, that in Mapuche language, the Indians language means light and straight. It's the hotel that was created for the electricity union workers of Argentina. When Perón was build this hotel, he made some statement that was quite controversial. It was not, maybe today it's not so controversial, but on those days Perón had so many detractors that he said, okay, if the wealthies deserve a luxurious hotel like the Zhao Zhao in a beautiful area, the workers do deserve it as well. And even when it was short, that was a very controversial topic that went to the media of those days.
Yeah? Celebrate my birthday with you. Because there won't be anybody else to celebrate. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're going to definitely.
Yo hablo con Alex. No, the back of my hands itch because of the damn flies.
Just like that.
Was it bad waiting?
She joined me after a while.
I was a wise ass.
Trying to talk to somebody and not knowing the language was difficult. But I had a child, so child was to me.
Yes.
And I, what time's that?
So you're still getting the bus, you're still getting you gotta look at it that way.
What are the flowers, the name, do you know?
I don't, but that's hops.
Oh, that's, he needs that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the.
Did you try the beer?
The process.
Did you try the beer?
I did try the beer.
What did you think?
I'm not a beer lover, but I did like the beer. It didn't have a very strong aftertaste. It was good.
I liked the chocolate one.
Yeah, it was good. Very.
Thank you.
This is the one. The hanging plant, you have it there.
That's hops.
That's hops, yes. Once every year they make a special kind of beer with that hop.
Okay, hello, how are you again? My name is Tomás. I am the brewmaster of the place. The name of my beer is Gilbert, like this. Yes, is my surname. It's a French surname, it's Gilbert. Yes, but first I tell you I don't speak French and English so-so, okay? Sorry for my explanation. First I tell you about the family in the business and then about the process. Yes, in the 2000 year, my father started for like a hobby, for drinking Happy New Year's, Happy Birthday for drink. And then we have this place, the place of the entrées is all stable. And in the 2004, my father and me reconstruction all the place and create the factory and the restaurant. In this moment, my father passed me the recipe. It's a secret recipe. And in this moment, I stayed only in the factory and he stayed in the restaurant, okay? No problems. In the first time, make it 20 liter, 50, 100. In this moment, make it 300 liter per day. Wow. Yes? Per day? Yes. And all the process is starting in this vat, in the vat of the middle. Yes? I put water, 132 Fahrenheit. When the water is in this temperature, I put the barley, the grind, okay? This is barley if you want to look and pass. This barley is coming from the fields of Buenos Aires because here in Bariloche is very cold for the growth of the barley. And I crush this barley for give me all the sugar and proteins. And when the barley is broken, I put in the water 132 Fahrenheit, 2 hours and a half. in the same temperature all the time. In this moment I create a mash, a word, a juice with the name is mosto. Mosto. It's a sweet juice, okay? And then this mosto I'm trespassing to the tank number 2, and in the tank number 2 I put to boil this mosto 2 hours and a half more. But when the mosto start to boiling, I put the hops. Do you know the hops? Yes. Hops in Spanish is lúpulo. Lúpulo, okay? This is the plant of hops. Here in the brew, we use different kinds of hops, like United States, European, Canadian, Australian. But the most important is grown here in Patagonia. Yes? This lúpulo is coming from El Bolsón. El Bolsón is a town near Bariloche, 100 kilometers in the south to here. This city is the most important product of hops in all South America. It's very, very important, and it's very near to here. The name of the city is El Bolsón because the city is like a back. It's between in mountains and in valleys and having a microclimate. A special place for grow all the lúpulo in South America. And the lúpulo is very important in my process in all the beers in the world because the lúpulo give me the bitter, the body, and the fragrance of this mosto. I put the flowers of hops in 3 doses. Remember, bitter, body, and fragrance. There are the Patagonian hops. The smell is very strong, citric, very herbal. Okay?
What were the 3 things again? Bitter, body,
And fragrance.
fragrance.
Yes, fragrance. And when I put the 3 doses of hops, then I close the fire and I practice a thermic shock. I practice a pasteurization for kill all the virus and bacteria. And when this mosto is coldest, I'm trespassing to the fermentation room. It's behind the doors. I have a fermentation vat, and inside the fermentation vat I put the last material, the yeast. Okay? I use a British kind of yeast. The name is ale. It's special only for making beer, not for making bread, cakes, or pizza, only for making beer. And then I put the yeast inside the fermentation vat, and the yeast eat the sugar and transform to alcohol in a 20 days of fermentation. In the fermentation vat stay 20 days, the sugar is transformed in natural alcohol. Then we filtrate this beer, put in cold temperature 20 days more for a natural clarificate, and then the beer is good for drink. Okay, for drink, 1 glass of Gilbert, we must be late 40 days. First 20 days, fermentation vat, create the natural alcohol, and then 20 days more in cold temperature is a maduration time. Okay, remember, for drink 1 glass of Gilbert, we must be late 40 days. And in 2 minutes, this glass, gla, 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 it's gone. Yes, this is the problem in my work, because in 7 hours and in 40 days, I make 600 liters. In this moment in the house, we have 2 kinds of beer. The blonde is a summer ale, and the other is a stout. The difference, when I prepare the beer, it's in the beginning, in the mash. Yes? When I prepare the stout, I use chocolate barley, toasted barley, and brown barley. It will give me the black color and taste like a chocolate or coffee or fragrance like a cake. Percent of alcohol, 5%. In the summer ale, I use Pilsen barley and Munich barley, and the percent of alcohol is 4% of alcohol. Okay? And we only sell the beer here in the factory and in the neighborhood. The name of this mini town is Swiss Colony, Colonia Suiza. I sell the beers in small hosteries or restaurant all in this place because 600 liters is not much. In this moment, the microbreweries here in Bariloche, in Argentina, are very, very popular. Day to day, the people is accustomed to drink more alcoholic, strong, natural, or bitter beers. In my case, in Gilbert, here we don't use chemicals and preservative. The beer is 100% natural, okay? We use organic materials. Yes, the duration of the beer inside the cake is only 4 months. Then the oxygen is working inside the cake and change the flavor of these beers, okay? And here we don't fill bottles, only serve the beer in cake in drafter, because here I don't have machines, I don't have helpers. This is my red cap machine. When I fill 700, is 1, 1, 1. I'm a strong man these days. The gasification is natural. I put more sugar inside the bottle, I put the top, and the bottle is waiting 20 days more. Yes, this sugar is working with the yeast inside the bottle, create a mini second fermentation, and give me the foam and the carbonatation. It's a natural gasification. The name is Charpenois. It's the same gasification to the champagne. Okay, it's a natural gasification. And the duration of the beer inside the bottle is the same to the cake, 4 months. Then the beer changes the flavor and is bad for drink. Yeah. Okay? And here in the brew, we follow a law. This law is created in 1516, it's created in Germany, and said for make these genuine beers, we use 4 ingredients. First is the water. The water is the most important in the process. In this moment, here we use spring water, okay? And then we use barley, hops, and yeast. Water, barley, hops, and yeast, only 4 ingredients for making a genuine beer. You understand my explanation? Sorry for my English. Bien? Perfect. Do you have questions about the process?
Yeah, where does the actual fermentation take place? Back in here?
No, it's behind the plastic doors, and then I have another part of the brew. Yes?
There's another vat back there. Can you see it?
Another vat back there.
Quite good.
Dad, how's the soup?
Very, very good.
Pumpkin soup, Tati. Pumpkin soup? Pumpkin soup.
Really?
And beer. Right, cerveza.
See?
Anya, wish you were here.
Yeah,
You would have liked this. You would have liked this. It's a lot of fun.
Hola. 150 los sombreros. ¿A la larga o a la corta? Cualquiera de los dos. Lo pueden probar si quieren.
Just to turn on the public access channel.
It'll be on the YouTubes. YouTubes you can get anywhere.
That's right.
In glorious 4K. No. That's the point. Exactly what I was thinking. This is a vision of heaven.
Some mankind, that's okay. Tastefully done. Over there looks like this is the airport. That's where I take off. And if I get there, if I did too many bad things, the lake isn't that bad.
I love the glistening
No, I
on the lake.
I know that I don't know everything. I wish, but no.
Go ahead,
I just know that I don't know.
You got a once in a lifetime.
Thank you. You talk to me for a second, okay?
Well, it's heaven, at least my perception. And if this is what heaven is, I won't mind going.
I'm becoming famous. So that's not much compared to today's figure, which is 130,000. So when I was born and I lived in Bariloche, it was a small town. And actually this plaza was, so to say, like the border of the town. You know, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk for 1 hour, or I'm gonna talk for 1 hour or 40 minutes plus questions, and we're gonna stay here for a while, then we move to another place, and then we end up at the main plaza. So it's like 5 blocks walking, talking and walking. Okay. So you know what it's about. And this plaza in those years used to be the end of the city, of the town. Now it's in the middle of the town. I was born here, I went to school in Bariloche, then I went to Buenos Aires, a big city. In those years we didn't have a university in Bariloche, so everybody went to other places to study. Now we have 2 universities. So I went to Buenos Aires, I studied anthropology, I'm an anthropologist, and I also wrote 2 books about this topic. And I'm also a teacher, a history teacher. I teach 20th century world history. That's what I teach at an English school, in English. It's an IB, it's called the International Baccalaureate, it's a special degree. You get, even in Argentina, to enter a foreign university for us. I mean, you can go to the United States, it's a title that would be valuable for a student. And the topic we're going to discuss today, like he said, it's controversial. I mean, I want to make this point clear. Nazis are not controversial for me. They are what they are. So what is controversial is Nazis in Argentina. I mean, where did they come to Argentina? Why did they come? So that's what we're going to talk about. And I always put it as a question because I don't know if it happened with you, but usually people relate Argentina when it comes to speaking about Germans with Nazis. It goes very quickly to Perón and the Nazis. Perón and the Nazis, that's always there. So we're going to talk about that, and I'll give you some information about this topic. And well, Grand Circle made a very good decision, not in pointing me out, but in using this place to start the lecture. And also Bariloche. Why? Because when you relate Argentina to the Nazis, okay, there were Nazis in Argentina, and then there is Bariloche, and then it gets worse somehow. It gets more Nazis. So it's a good place to start talking about this topic. And this plaza is a very good place. It used to be, still is somehow, the center, the heart of the German-speaking community of Bariloche. So when I was a kid, everybody living on this plaza spoke German. And at the school we were 300 students, and 60% of us spoke German at home. So it was a very German community, although we were all Argentinians. But after 3 generations we kept on speaking German. And this is a very good place to start, because on this plaza, and I didn't see the bus, but the bus stopped there somewhere, right where it stopped, behind this building, this little building on the plaza, there is a 3-story building, 3-story building, tall building. That's behind that building. That's where the last Nazi war criminal that Argentina extradited to Italy lived. And he lived in Bariloche for more than 40 years, which is a long time for a Nazi war criminal to live in a community. I belong to that community. I was, when when he came to Bariloche, it was 54. I was born in 55. So I was there right at the beginning. Pripke, that's the name. I have a few visuals. I'm gonna hand them over so you can take a look. Pripke is his name. Was somebody Pripke? I'm gonna give you the visuals. You're gonna see the name. Maybe you haven't heard of him, but of course, for us, having a Nazi war criminal inside the community for more than 40 years, well, it's a different story, very different. That's why I think it's a good place to talk about the Nazis, this plaza, and to talk about the Nazis with me, because I'm part of that community. The name was Pripke. Here he is, and now I tell you exactly what he did and how he was caught. This is the man, this is a famous picture when he was leaving Bariloche in '95, extradited to Italy. So I hand this over, and before we start talking about that, I'll show you a picture. You might know the man, this guy, you know this guy? Not Pripke, the other one.
Yeah.
Who is he?
Sam Donaldson.
Sam Donaldson, exactly, Sam Donaldson. So why Sam Donaldson with Pripke? Because in '94, Sam Donaldson came to Bariloche looking for one Nazi, not that one, another one. And this other Nazi, whose name was because they all died, even Sam Donaldson died, that Nazi was called Juan Mahler, and when he faced him on a street of Bariloche with a big camera asking him, "You're a Nazi, you're a war criminal," this guy said, "I'm no war criminal, I'm no Nazi, the real war criminal is Pripke." Yes, so he went to see Pripke. But Donaldson knew about Pripke. He knew, of course. He's too clever not to know about the whereabouts of Pripke. So he went to see Pripke, and Pripke by then, that's the famous picture, was the president of the board of the German school. 1,000 students, the most important private school of Bariloche. So he hadn't lived with us, not only lived with us for 40 years, he had climbed up the social ladder and became like sort of the head of the community, being the president of a school. That's when Sam Donaldson found him. After that, Argentina put him under custody in that place for 1.5 years. Italy asked for an extradition, and finally he was sent to Italy, the end of '95. He was sentenced to life. Now I tell you what he did. He was sentenced to life in '97, '98. He was 80-something, so they gave him the privilege of being arrested, being put under house arrest. So he didn't spend the rest of his life in prison. He died 1.5 years ago, being 100 years old. By then, he had become the last Nazi, the last man standing. Very proud of having been a Nazi, always saying he only obeyed orders and that the gas chambers are a lie. So he was really the last Nazi, and that's why we know much about him, because he didn't keep still. He was always there in the news. He got out of his apartment to walk on Rome, had dinner with friends, so he's always in the news. While he was there, he wrote an autobiography, Vae Victis, which in English means poor of the ones who are defeated. It's a Roman phrase, because it's like he was saying, I'm a political prisoner. I didn't have to be here. This is the obituary by The Economist. This is a letter in German he sent to me before he died. Why do I show you this? Because I was always trying, I kept correspondence with him, because I was trying to know how our community was in the 50s and 60s. He didn't tell me much, but he always answered. This is handwritten. And look, the letterhead. He's disclosed us with a crown of thorns, like a victim, and belonging to Association of Humans and Freedom, Human Beings and Freedom. So I show you this so you know how close this story is to my family and to this community. So on the whole trip, you won't get that close to a community that had a war criminal inside. And what exactly happened? This. Show you this. This is a movie being done on the massacre that happened in Rome, where Pripke was involved. It is called the Aratine Cave Massacre. There is a movie being made on this. It's called Massacre in Rome, Represalia. The movie was filmed in '73, and Richard Burton plays this guy who was the head of the massacre. Pripke by then, Kappler also, were SS officers belonging to the Gestapo. They were in charge of the security of Rome in '44, starting in '43, '44. You know, Germans were occupying central and northern Italy. So the partisans, who opposed the Nazis, of course, put a bomb, killed 33 German soldiers that were marching on the streets, and somebody issued an order: you have to kill 10 Italians for each of the soldiers that died. And they did it the next day. They got it. 330, they made a mistake, they killed 5 more, 335 people from the prisons, from the streets of Rome, from the Jewish community, wherever they could grab them, took them to these caves and shot them. Boom, boom, 5 in, boom, boom, 5 in, boom, boom. Very cruel massacre. The last ones were lying on the other ones, and they weren't even dead. They were very cruel, and then they put dynamite and blew the place apart. That massacre is called the Aratine Cave Massacre, and Pripke was involved in that massacre. I'll hand this over so you can take a look. This is the place today. It's a memorial. And imagine the movie is based on this book, Death in Rome. This is the memorial today. Every year, the Italian president goes to this place for a memorial, the 24th of March, '44. And we had this guy living with us for a long time. So, yes, we were lucky. We are so lucky. Well, this is another. Well, this is him again when he was caught this is an Argentinian newspaper when he was caught. Said, well, confessions of a Nazi that lives in Bariloche, controversies about the confession. And this is again a poster of the movie. You can pass them. I give them to you, and so you can pass them on. So much for Pripke. Yes?
So he was keeping it a secret when he lived here.
He was keeping it a secret, but he's even on the movie. There's his name in the movie. So everybody knew that he had been part of that massacre. What happened, I don't want to make this very long, but what happened is that they got Kappler. After the war, I mean, Pripke was put in prison. There were many SS officers. Pripke was not the only one. They were all put under arrest by the British, by the Americans, by the British mainly in Italy. And then they were freed, some escaped, some went to live to Germany, some in Austria. Pripke came to Argentina. And the Italians got Kappler, Richard Burton. They got him. And they sentenced him to life. And he was the head of the massacre. So what these guys thought, they will not come for us. We only followed orders. He was the officer. Why us? They will never come for us. So he came, all the Nazi war criminals. We're going to talk about Perón and all that on the second spot. I start with Pripke because this is the place. They all came with different names. I'm going to tell you about Eichmann and Mengele. They all came to Argentina with different names. Pripke came with a different name. But when finally they all knew that Kappler was in prison and that Italians and Germans, because of the Cold War, wouldn't go against each other, saying, oh, you committed crimes, they were allies again, and they kept it all, we say, under the rug. So everybody was trying to forget the Aratine Cave Massacre. So Pripke felt free to change his name back to Pripke in '54, and he even got a German passport. He traveled with a German passport, and he went to Rome twice, and he went to the United States with that passport. So they were not looking for him. He was just another one of these war criminals who were forgotten. Till Sam Donaldson identified him.
He was never tried then, right after the war?
No, never. He escaped. I mean, no. He was in Italy and he was under arrest, and he told the English that he was involved in the massacre. But they always blamed Hitler and Kappler. They said we were just officers, we had to do it. We are soldiers, we are following orders. Obediencia de vida, that's what we call them in Spanish. You follow orders. Till Sam Donaldson arrived and things changed.
How did he earn a living here?
Well, he had a grocery store. He came and started a grocery store. I'm going to show you the place. Then he built that building and rented it. He was just middle class, normal middle class, living a normal life with a grocery store. That's where and then he built this. With that money, he built that and rented it. And that became like a hospital. So he had that building to rent. He lived on the rent.
Was he single or have
No, he had a family, came with 2 sons.
2 sons?
One son is still living there.
Really?
The other one lives in New York. Go to see him.
What year did he come here?
He came into Argentina in 49, to Bariloche in 54. They all came end of the 40s. You're going to see that when we talk.
I have a reason for that.
Yeah. And when we start talking about Pripke and about the Nazis coming to Argentina and how this guy could end up being the president of the board of a school, or how could Eichmann live in Argentina, who was really a top character in the final solution. How could he come to Argentina and live among the German community of Buenos Aires, not of Bariloche? How could Mengele live in Argentina for 10 years and nobody would go for him? How could that happen? Why did that happen in Argentina? Well, the story has 2 reasons. One is the German-speaking community. Second is Perón. So here now I'm going to tell you about the German-speaking community. At the next spot, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Perón and the Nazis and the Eichmann case. So to talk about the German community, I have new visuals. Here they are. And I didn't tell you that I wrote 2 books about this topic. One is in 3 languages, German, English, and Spanish. This was published in 2007. It's very historical, very academic, very boring, with a lot of footnotes. Interesting, a lot of research in this book. But it had one problem. It didn't talk about the Nazis. So I wrote the second book, which is full of Nazis. So these are my 2 books. A lot of people like this one, didn't like that one, except the opposite went like that. You can take a look at these books. This one is it's in Spanish, and it's called In the Name of the Father. Now, I show you a few pictures because pictures talk more than 1,000 words. If I show you these pictures, maybe you have seen them before, or maybe you think that these are Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, German Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, marching on some street. This is Buenos Aires. This is just 2 pictures I show you, and another one, this one, of the Boy Scouts, which is Hitler Youth, of course, and this one, which is a huge rally, Nazi rally, they had in 38 in Argentina, celebrating the Anschluss. You know a little bit of history. Well, that's when Germany sort of occupied, invaded, or took over, said, here, we are all the same. Yeah, that was afterwards, the Sudeten, but Austria was like back in the Reich, back home. So 3 pictures of Argentina, of this German-speaking community, and I can tell you more about this, about the German-speaking community, just showing you these 3 pictures, but it gets very personal at this point. Why? Because I'm not only born in Bariloche, got to know Pripke very well, my own war criminal. I have my own war criminal. And then when my father died, 2002, my father was Argentinian of German descent. He was born in Buenos Aires, not in Bariloche. So he lived his youth in Buenos Aires. He was born in 1920. And when he died, we went through all this stuff, and there I found a huge box with a lot of information of that community before the Second World War. He left everything. So he left his little booklet, joining the Hitler Youth when he was 14. He left a beautiful album of 400 pictures of a trip he did to Germany in 1937, being a young boy, the age my son has now. I have a son that is 17 and looks very similar. dressed in a brown uniform. Well, it's black and white in those pictures, but it's brown. And he was taken to Germany for 6 months to enjoy the wonders of Nazi Germany. Why? Because, there's a little bit of history. 1933, Hitler got the power in Germany, and from that moment on, he didn't only, and this is a good proof of this, he didn't only think in terms of Europe, or in terms of Germany and Europe. He thought in terms of the world. So wherever there was a German-speaking community, he would go for them to turn them into Nazis. Community of the people, Volksgemeinschaft. We're all part of the same blood, same people. So, 1,000-year Reich will be here forever and everywhere, not only in Germany or Europe.
US too.
US too? I have the information here. I'll show it to you. These are the pictures of the album of my father. If you look at them, they're in German, the captions are in German. You look at them, you would say, this is a German. This is not an Argentinian, but my father was an Argentinian of German descent. The mother was Argentinian. My grandmother was Argentinian. So, this is Nuremberg. He saw Hitler, for sure. He was 17 when he went to Germany. More pictures of the album. 37. That was 1 year before Kristallnacht. 1 year before that. So, another picture, and you know, he always said, I never discussed this with my father because he was an Argentinian. He came back, stayed in Argentina after the war was over, and we never talked about this. It was like a hidden story. His own biography was hidden this time. I mean, when they talked, they said, oh, it was a great time. You know, we're just Boy Scouts, just enjoying every weekend, going to look for girls or whatever. But then I found this picture in the album, which is very interesting. This is my father's there. Thanks God he's like sort of hiding behind another one. But this is in Germany in 1937, and it's 9th of November. That's why I told you Kristallnacht happened 9th of November 1938. So this was 1 year before Kristallnacht. 1 year before Kristallnacht, they took this photo. They're all Argentinians of German descent on a trip to Germany. There is another date here. The 9th of November 23. I don't know if you know about that. History. 23, Weimar Republic. Birkeler Putsch. That's when Hitler tried to grab the power. 23, 9th of November.
Ended up in jail.
Yes, he ended up in jail and wrote Mein Kampf. 23. So, if my father always said, they're just Boy Scouts, you're not Boy Scout. You're Nazi youth. Boy Scouts don't celebrate the 23rd of November 23, unless you're a Nazi. So, and here there are a few pictures, you were saying, of the German-American Bund marching on the streets. Here they are. Yes. New York, New Jersey, United States, the Nazis in America. Here they are. Yes. The road to fascism. Why do I show you this? Because because the base was there. I mean, this picture is incredible. I mean, this is Chicago, Old Guard, this is Old Guard Teutonia, Chicago, 1931. You look at these people, you say, well, what the hell is this? Well, I took all this information from reliable sources. I mean, I'm not just, like my students say, we took it from internet. Well, where? Well, internet. It's the truth, internet. No, the sources are there, where I took them from. The German-American Bund was also very, very active in terms of Nazis in the United States. We had the same in Argentina. There is one big difference, and I want to make this clear for the ones who like history. There is a difference between the United States and Argentina in the 20th century. Well, there is a difference between the United States and Argentina, of course. But in the 20th century, there is a difference relating to the two wars. The First World War, you kept neutral till almost the end, 17, and then you entered the war. And you entered the war, had a lot of deaths, and you went against Germany. So the German-speaking people of the United States after the war, after the World War I, didn't want to be Germans anymore. I mean, everybody tells me that, enough sources. They stop speaking German, they forget about it. We are not Germans, we are Americans, after the First World War. Argentina stayed neutral all the way. So the German-speaking community of Argentina kept on being very proud of being German, not in the United States, except a small group in the United States. Then the Second World War came. So before that war, the German-speaking community of Argentina was very sympathetic with the Nazis, and there were a lot. I would say 90% of the German-speaking community was very Nazi in Argentina. While in the United States, most of the German-speaking people had became Americans, and a tiny group of those who still spoke German became Nazis, a tiny group. And then you went to war with Germany again. We didn't. We stayed neutral till the 27th of March, 45. Yes. So, you know what my students say? They said Hitler committed suicide because he knew we were coming. You know, that was 1 month before the war ended. But wait a minute, Chile declared war 1 day before we declared war. Chile was also neutral. But Chile had declared a war to Japan, strange enough, after Pearl Harbor. We never declared war on Germany, not on Japan. We declared war the 27th of March, 45. So during the whole war, this German-speaking community was very sympathetic with the Nazis. Were reading literature very sympathetic with the Nazis. They were not marching on the streets anymore in 43, 44, but they could still gather and sing songs, not in the United States. Bad idea to be a Nazi in the United States, 44, 45. Very bad idea. In Argentina, no big deal. There was Perón, no war with Germany, neutral country. So that explains that when the war ended, the German-speaking community was still very sympathetic with the Nazis, even with information coming through about the Holocaust. They wouldn't believe it. They would say it's just a lie. We don't believe it. It's propaganda. You know, I mean, they're the ones who win the wars write history. That's what they said. So it's all a lie. It can't be possible. No. 6 million people killed like that? No way. So they became a strange group of people, strange community. That's the community I grew up with after the war. So when the Nazi war criminals decided in Europe with the Odessa network, we're going to talk a little bit about that. The network of officers helped each other. Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Well, Argentina was always there.
Italy
through Italy, yeah, through Italy to Argentina. I mean, Italy and Spain, Sweden, neutral countries. Where do we go? To Arab countries? Some went to Syria. Well, some went to Syria, Egypt, and a lot came to Argentina. We're going to talk about that at the next stop. Perón, the Nazi war criminals, and the Eichmann case as an example of one case, one important case, the most important of them all. 77, he went to Rome and talked with him. So, and nothing happened. And this guy, Karl Haas, was living in Switzerland. Why was he living in Switzerland and nobody cared about him? Because after the war, he had worked with the OSS and with the American service against communism. I mean, Cold War, they were looking, they were looking, and now there are more documents disclosed now in the last months about the involvement of German Nazis working with the Americans, especially in Italy, in the south, because they were afraid that Italy would become communist. The elections were 48, so he was like the hidden asset. And when Pripke, you know, he worked for the Americans for a while, and then he became an actor. And he acted as a Nazi officer in a very famous movie called The Damned. He's an officer. That's a picture of the movie. And that's a picture of him with Herbert Kappler in Rome. Why do I show you this? Because when Pripke, this is in German now. I took this from the Spiegel, where he was. It's an interview. I was useful to them, you're saying, to the Americans after the war. No, it's German. You can look at a picture. So the story is when Pripke arrives in Italy, conducted by the officers, he starts talking. Nobody knew about Haas, and he says, to relieve himself, to say, well, why do you get me in Argentina if there is another one of us that is living in Switzerland? And everybody says, what? Who is this guy? Well, it's Karl Haas, my friend. And they go for Karl Haas. So Karl Haas comes to the trial and he's sentenced with Priebke. And he died in 2002 or 2004 in prison, under house arrest too. So, you know, they're all like, this guy, Nazi in Bariloche, tells go to see Priebke, and Priebke says go to see Karl Haas. So that's the end of the Odessa. I mean, they were like betraying each other. You know, they get me, well now, if they get me, I will tell them about you. And they would...
The Odessa file if you have it.
Exactly. So, but it's interesting to see what happened. I mean, it's not only Argentina. There are other countries involved in this. I mean, Karl Haas was living in Switzerland. Well, he was not the head of the board of a school, of course. This guy went a little bit too far. Well, at the other spot we talked about Priebke, the Priebke case, which is very recent. That's why Bariloche is so closely related to the Nazis, because of this recent story. And we talked about the German-speaking community and the difference between our German-speaking community and the rest of the German-speaking communities in the world. I would say really, by my experience, the Argentinian German community was the most Nazi of them all.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure of that. Look at the evidence that my father left. And my father was not even a Nazi. I mean, my father after the war forgot about it. He was an Argentinian. So imagine the ones who were really Nazis. When I presented the book, the sister of my father wrote me an email like this, saying, what are you doing disclosing the secret papers of our family? You don't know what it was like, and we were only having fun. We were no Nazis. And she knew I had all the letters she sent to my father when he was in Germany. And they all finished with Heil Hitler, Sieg Heil. She knew that. So she was afraid that I would just disclose them. I still have them, just in case. So, but at this place, you never know. Yes. But at this place, we're going to talk about Perón. Because I told you, when it comes to speaking about Nazis in Argentina, there's always the German-speaking community, and there is Perón. Perón. Who was Perón? Well, you know, I'm not going to tell you much about Argentinian history, although I could. But Perón was not president during the war. Perón was vice president during the war. He started being vice president in '44, at the end of the war. But he was part of the Argentinian army who liked Germans, who liked the German army, the German efficiency. He was a fascist, yes, he was a fascist. Now you would call him a populist. But he was a fascist. He loved Mussolini. He loved Franco. He didn't like, I wouldn't say he liked Hitler. I think they were like too extreme for him. There is a controversy of how anti-Semitic he was among Peronists. You know, Peronism is a party today. Yes. So for them, it's very difficult to talk about this topic. They would not talk about this topic. They don't like it. So that's the problem with Argentina. We always have Peronist governments that come and go, and when they are in charge, they don't talk about this. It's like a hidden story. So like now, for 10 years we have been having Kirchner, a Peronist. I wouldn't say they're fascist, then they're not, but they wouldn't talk about this. This is like it would attack their leader, you know, their credible leader, Perón. So to start talking about this, I show you this is Perón and the Nazis. This is a Time magazine. I have it here. Time magazine, Perón and the Nazis, 98. Do I start here? So you can take a look at them. And it talks about a book. It talks about this book. It's a Time magazine 98. The book is called, in English, The Real Odessa. In Spanish, La Auténtica Odessa. It's written by Ucigoni. Ucigoni is a researcher, an Argentinian researcher who did a lot of research on this topic, how Nazis ratline, how they came to Argentina through Italy, through how the Vatican helped, how everybody helped. And he wrote this book. It exists in English, The Real Odessa. If you want to read something about this whole topic, I think it's one of the best books. Why does he talk about, this is the English cover. This is a new cover in Argentina, The Real Odessa.
The word Odessa means what?
Yeah, the Odessa, I'll tell you now, Odessa is an acronym. It's not the city. Odessa means, it's a German name. It means, in English, Organization of Former SS Officers. Organisation der ehemaligen SS-Angehörigen. That's the German name. But it's what Odessa stands for is this loose network that existed at the end of the war and after the war that helped each other, helped the Nazis to get away from Europe. There were the Nazis, there were the Italian fascists, there was the Vatican Church, there were sympathizers, there was Perón, and there were also the governmental officers of Argentina. I mean, Argentina sent people to Europe to get these people, to bring them to Argentina. Perón did that with blank passports. You know, issue a passport, you want to come, boom, boom, here you come.
la recta